We've been together for nearly a decade. 6 of those years married. I always believed we had one of those quiet, unshakable marriages. Not perfect, but real, steady, safe. The morning coffee ritual we shared before work. She always made it just how I liked it, with a touch of cinnamon. The way she'd leave post-it notes in my lunch with little jokes or reminders that she loved me. The silent understanding between us when either had a difficult day. How we could communicate volumes with just a glance across the dining table. The way we could spend an entire Sunday afternoon reading in the same room. Not speaking but completely comfortable in each other's presence. These small moments formed the tapestry of our life together. A life I thought was built on complete honesty. I never snooped through her phone. Never felt the need to question her loyalty. She gave me no reason to. And then, one night last month, everything changed with one sentence. We were sitting on our back porch after dinner. It was one of those perfect spring evenings. Gentle breeze, stars just beginning to appear. She reached for my hand, her fingers trembling slightly. I noticed immediately something was wrong. "There's something I need to tell you," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Something that happened a long time ago. Something I've never been able to let go of." I felt a cold weight settle in my stomach. The night suddenly seemed darker. Back when we were still dating, 2 years in, before we got engaged, she kissed someone. At a work party. Too much wine. Too many blurred lines. She didn't stop it right away. She didn't tell me then. She described it all with painful precision. The dimly lit office, the holiday music playing too loudly, the conversation that had started innocently but shifted into something more. The lingering glances, the moment their lips met, how it lasted longer than it should have. "It meant nothing," she insisted, tears welling in her eyes. I walked away feeling sick about it. "I wanted to tell you then, but I was so afraid of losing you. I told myself it was a one-time mistake that would never happen again. That telling you would only hurt you unnecessarily." Her voice cracked as she continued. "But now, all these years later, the guilt is eating me alive. Every anniversary, every time you tell me how much you trust me, it's like a knife." She wiped her tears with the back of her hand. "You deserved to know from the beginning, but I was a coward. You've been so good to me. You've loved me honestly. The truth had to come out no matter how late." I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just sat there, staring at her, like she was a stranger wearing my wife's face. It wasn't the kiss that hurt. It was the 6 years of silence. 6 years of building a life, making memories, while she carried this one secret in a quiet place I never saw. 6 years of me believing in something that wasn't entirely true. "Say something," she pleaded. "Anything." But I couldn't find words. I stood up and walked out of the room. Not because I was angry, though part of me was, but because I suddenly felt hollow, empty, like someone had reached inside me and scooped out everything I thought I knew. I spent the night on the couch, staring at the ceiling. Fragments of our life together flashed through my mind. Our wedding day, her face glowing as she recited vows about honesty and transparency. The time we stayed up until dawn discussing our future children's names. The weekend we spent repainting the living room, ending up with more paint on ourselves than the walls. All those memories now had a shadow cast over them. Had she been thinking about her secret during those moments? Had guilt been her constant companion while happiness had been mine? We didn't speak for 2 full days after her confession. An uncomfortable silence filled our home, the kind that has weight and presence. She made coffee each morning, cleaned, smiled when I walked by, but her smile didn't reach her eyes. I caught her once, standing at the kitchen sink, shoulders shaking silently. Another time, I found her looking at our wedding album, fingers tracing over photographs with an expression of such profound sadness that for a moment, my anger wavered. I didn't speak either, not to punish her. Just, I had no words. What do you say to someone who has been both your closest companion and a stranger at the same time? In those silent days, I wrestled with myself. One moment, I'd remember how she nursed me through pneumonia last winter, never leaving my side for 3 straight days. The next, I'd wonder what else she might be hiding. The doubt, once planted, grew roots quickly. On the third night, I found myself standing in our bedroom doorway, watching her brush her hair. 80 strokes, every night, a ritual I'd observed for years. The familiarity of it struck me. This wasn't some villain in a story. This was my wife, the woman who knew how I liked my coffee, who could read my moods from the way I closed the front door, who still laughed at my terrible jokes. A week after her confession, I told her I was ready to talk. We sat across from each other at our dining table, the same table where we'd shared thousands of meals, played board games on rainy Sundays, and sometimes worked side by side on our laptops, occasionally reaching out to touch hands just because. "Why now?" I asked, my voice steadier than I expected. "After all this time?" She looked down at her clasped hands. "Because I couldn't bear it anymore," she whispered. "Every happy moment we had, I felt like a fraud, like I didn't deserve you. Did you ever try to tell me before tonight?" 3 times. Her answer surprised me. Once on our wedding day, once when you were in the hospital with pneumonia, and once last Christmas, when you told me I was the most honest person you'd ever known. Her eyes filled with tears. Each time, I lost my nerve. I leaned forward, needing to know. "Would you have ever told me if the guilt hadn't become unbearable?" She looked directly at me then, her gaze unflinching despite her tears. "I don't know, and that's the honest answer. I hope I would have, but I can't say for certain." The honesty of that answer, the absence of easy reassurance, somehow meant more than any promise could have. "I don't expect forgiveness," she added quietly. "I just wanted to be truthful." Finally, that hit harder than I expected, because maybe this wasn't about betrayal alone. Maybe it was about the cost of carrying something silently for far too long. The corrosive power of secrets, how they eat away at the person keeping them. "I need to know we won't do this again," I told her, surprised by the gentleness in my own voice. "No more secrets, even the painful ones." She nodded, tears streaming down her face. "No more secrets, ever." "I can't promise I'll forget this," I said, "but I can try to understand it." That night, we sat together looking through old photos, not speaking much, just being present. It was uncomfortable, raw but real. More real, perhaps, than we'd been in years. 3 months have passed since that night. Things are different between us now, both harder and, in some strange way, more authentic. We've started therapy, both together and separately. We've established new rituals of honesty, weekly check-ins where we share things we might otherwise keep to ourselves. Small things, mostly, but it's practice for the bigger things. Some days are still difficult. There are moments when doubt creeps in, when I find myself watching her a beat too long, wondering. But those moments are becoming less frequent. Do I trust her the same way? No. But that blind trust wasn't real anyway. What we're building now might be stronger. A trust with eyes wide open. A trust that acknowledges we're both capable of mistakes and deception, but chooses connection anyway. Last week, she found an old note I'd written her years ago, tucked in a book. "To my person, the one I can always count on." She left it on my pillow with a new note underneath. "I'm working to be that person again. Thank you for giving me the chance." Finding those notes, I realized something important. Forgiveness isn't a single moment. It's not a line you cross once and you're done. It's a choice you make again and again. It's a road you walk, slowly, together. Sometimes the truth doesn't set you free in the way people claim. It doesn't magically dissolve pain or erase consequences. It just clears the fog so you can see what was there all along. 2 imperfect people trying their best, failing sometimes, but choosing each other despite knowing the worst. Our marriage isn't what it was. It's something new now, something with scars, something tempered by fire. But maybe, just maybe, that's what love actually is. Not a fairy tale, not perfection, just 2 people standing in truth, deciding every day that what they're building together is still worth it.